Hi, everyone.
Hi.
Welcome to week 15. Both Professor Patch and I wanted to go over a little bit about the week together. And the first thing we wanted to discuss was late work. We are going to allow you to turn in any missing journal assignments until December 4th. You can also, if there is a score on a journal that you're not particularly like you want to improve it, you can also redo those or turn in a little extra work for those journals to get it up to full points. That due date is also going to be December 4th. And now let's look at week 15 together. Right. The other thing we wanted to mention this week is you may have noticed that we have moved the final project link upload from the Thursday, I believe, the 8th due date. Instead, we have moved it to December 11th, which is the Sunday. It's the um, last day of the semester. This will still give enough time for both Professor Patch and I to grade the final assignments and to also offer support if there's some last minute um, issues that come up. But hopefully that gives you all a little bit of extra time to ensure that everything is present. And we also wanted to remind you that you are turning in the rough draft last week. We'll be giving you feedback on that, but if there happens to be questions you have during this week, please let us know as soon as possible if there's any final project questions you have.
So this week you'll be reading from a new open access textbook that we have not read from before. It's called Foundations of Library Science. You'll be reading two sections of chapter 1, and you'll see that on the next page. Your first section, Systemic Inequities in Libraries, begins with a challenge to the ideal of altruism in libraries. That means libraries are seen as only a source of good in the world. The image of altruism in libraries was pretty much shattered for me during my first semester of my MLIS degree. I honestly thought libraries could only do good in the world. But then we actually read about the history and origins in public libraries, and that changed a lot for me. We thought week 15 would be a good idea, a good time to share these ideas with you all before ending the class. And I know many of you have already thought about some of the issues of equality, anti-racism, and the myth of neutrality in libraries. These readings provide a brief history of the origins of libraries and outline the development of the Bill of Rights. They also share perspectives from library scholars that you can refer to in the future. Chapter 1 of this online textbook will be important for you to consider as you reflect on systemic inequities in libraries and continue to develop your own identity as a library professional. So you'll see in this first section, you can click through the tabs. One of my former library coworkers, Fobazi Itar, is mentioned on this first tab about privilege. The second section of chapter 1 traces the development of the Library Code of Ethics that was established in 1939. You may notice that this code experienced several revisions in the 1980s, 1990s, and most recently in 2021. I encourage you to think about what events socially and historically led to those changes. The 2021 change, I would argue, was in direct response to the nationwide protests that happened after the murder of George Floyd. And that included more anti-racist language in library codes of ethics. Please also make sure to read the last tab of this section that discusses the myth of neutrality in libraries. It's important for me to send you off with at least some exposure to the concepts shared by one of my favorite scholars on this topic, Emily Drabinski. Drabinski asks one very important question for all of us to consider. How do librarians stay neutral in the face of such need for social change, right? That's a question for all librarians and everyone in this class. So these are some of the big ideas you'll be reading about across chapter 1 of this textbook. For this week's discussion board, we are just asking you to respond to the questions in the prompt you see here on the screen. We do ask that you quote at least once from each of the sections, right? So that first section on systemic inequities in libraries, one quote from there, and then one quote from the section on the professional code of ethics. And as usual, please make sure to make your polite, kind, and thoughtful responses to peers by Tuesday of the following week.
All right, everyone. It's the last kind of full week before the final week. We both believe in you heartily, and please reach out to us if you have any questions about anything during this week. We're available in multiple means, and we'll probably try to get together with all of you for some last minute Zoom questions about the final project.
Yeah, we hope this one discussion board assignment is giving you kind of a lighter week so that you can really focus most of your time on working on your final project.
Yes. Have a good week.
Bye.
Bye.